Hey everyone and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where it is time for turn 11 of the Binding Coils of Bahamut. As usual, this is going to be post-commentary. Let's go ahead and read the raid description and then get going. At a depth of 6,835 yalms, you and your companions are greeted by a breathtaking sight, a colossal replica of Dalamud believed to be the device which regulates Bahamut's regeneration. The structure swarms with legions of the Lesser Moon's internal defenses, but through it, we may find a way to the main bridge. I went a little too fast in the recording. Oh well. Fascinating that there is a replica of Dalamud inside Dalamud's wreckage. Very fascinating. So the first half of this raid is a race. You're going to divide up into two light parties. One light party goes left, the other goes right. You're gonna have the exact same enemies, mostly the exact same enemies to deal with. You'll have similar enemies to deal with. And we need to defeat our sets of enemies before heading on to the next area. Both parties are going to need to make it through if you are doing this solo. For this first section where you split up, you only need to take one path, you don't need to do both. Later on, you will need to do both paths in order to get to the boss. And for that, if you're doing it solo, you'll just have to clear one side, deliberately die, and then clear the other side to get through. Or you can use return to get back to the start after you've cleared one side if you don't want to die. Alright, we regroup after the first wave of enemies. We need to stand on these platforms to remove the barriers, similar to how Zemail Darkhold works. Let's take care of these massive pile of enemies. God, I love the music in the Coils, it's so good. Alright, splitting up once again, same light parties. Well, it doesn't have to be the same, but we're doing same light parties. And this is a section where you have to clear both sides. Alright, Valiant's of course going to be the hardest one to kill just because it's so big and bulky. But once it's done, we'll be able to take the teleporter forward. And we're gonna jump all the way across the other side. I guess we can't go forward, that's a shame. If I had looked right here, we probably would have been able to see the other party briefly before they jumped over to the far side. Alright, gotta stand on these platforms to remove the barriers. Need to remove the barriers on both sides in order to open the way forward. And that will bring us to the boss, which, this was a tough one, but I think we're good. I think we had a ton of fun with it. I'll start going over mechanics once we've begun. Alright, Kaliya's first attack that we need to watch out for is Resonate. Resonate is a cleave, which is intended to hit the tanks. It shares its damage between everyone it hits, so the more people who get hit by it, the less damage everyone takes. It is intended for just both tanks to take it, but hypothetically, maybe you can have the entire party take it. I wouldn't recommend that. I think we did that a few times on accident and people survive, but it'll put more stress on the healers, honestly, to be healing everyone rather than just the tanks. So tanks will stand north and take the cleaves while everyone else stands south, west, and east and fights the boss. Next ability to watch out for is Nerve Gas, which will do a series of 3 cleaves doing hitting about half of the floor in 3 different directions. It'll be very obvious when it comes up. You'll see the direction. Yeah, here's Nerve Gas. It'll do 3 attacks in order. First a front cleave, back right cleave, back left cleave. The order is going to be random every time, so it's not always going to be this exact order. After the first set of Nerve Gas, it's going to put up Battlefield, which will put a little damaging AoE on the ground. If you go into the AoE, you will take a ton of damage and possibly die. It's basically just to prevent you from cheesing the Nerve Gas. You need to actually walk around Kaliya to avoid that. After that is Seed of the Sea and Seed of the River. Let me double check. One of them is a stack, one of them is a spread. Where is it? Where are the notes? Seed of the Sea. If you see a red vertical line on a player, you know Seed of the Sea is happening first and everyone should stack. So Seed of the Sea is a stack. If you don't see a red line, then it's Seed of the River and you should spread. It will always do either Seed of the Sea and then Seed of the River, or Seed of the River and then Seed of the Sea. So it's either stack then spread, or spread then stack. If you see a red line on a player, it's stack first. If you don't see a red line, it's spread first. Okay, that is all the mechanics for Phase 1. The Battlefield also will stay up. Oh, you could just see the red line just there. It just vanished. Battlefield will stay up for the entire fight, so never go into Kaliya's hitbox. After a little bit of time, when it hits about 59% health, it'll start ads phase. We will have 3 ads to deal with: Gravity Node, Electric Node, and Weapons Node. They each have different properties we need to watch out for. Electric Node will slowly move clockwise around the field. Gravity Node and Weapons Node will just follow whoever is tanking them. If any 2 nodes get too close together, they will tether. And after a few seconds, they will merge. Kinda similar to the golems in turn 9 when you're fighting Nail. If they merge, they recover 25% of their HP, and they become nearly unkillable. They are extremely powerful, extremely durable. You're gonna wipe. So, strategy. Tanks should each take one of the Weapons Node and the Gravity Node, and slowly move them clockwise around the field so that they stay about the same distance from the Electric Node, so that they never get too close. Weapons Node has a ton more health than the Gravity Node. So, most of your DPS should be on the Weapons Node, with like maybe 1 or 2 players on the Gravity Node. You want the Weapons Node and Gravity Node to die at about the same time. If they die too far apart, or well, rather, once one of them dies, the other one will rush to the Electric Node and merge with it within a few seconds. You have a little bit of wiggle room where you can actually kill the other one, but you want them to die very close together or they're going to merge with the Electric Node and you're going to be screwed. Because Weapons Node has so much more health, your focus should be on the Weapons Node. You should be killing the Weapons Node primarily, but you want to keep them at about... You want to keep them dying at about the same pace, and Gravity Node has a lot less health. That said, it is safer to kill the Weapons Node entirely and then go to the Gravity Node, even if the Gravity Node is just a little bit behind. Just because the Gravity Node does have so much less health, it is a lot easier to recover if the Weapons Node dies first than to recover if the Gravity Node dies first. While we are doing ads phase, there's several mechanics we need to look out for. Let me see. Oh, a cat opened my door. Dang it. Kitties, please. So, I believe the Gravity Node will drop puddles of, just puddles of the ground, which will slow you down if you go into them. The Weapons Node will do big cleave, so stand behind it. Do not stand in front where the tank is. What else is there to look out for? Weapons Node will use an attack called Repelling Cannons, which deals a massive amount of damage that is split between everyone near the target. That means everyone focusing on this node should stack behind it, except of course for the tank. Gravity Node takes less physical damage than the Weapons Node as well. So you should probably focus one tank, one healer, I'm thinking, on the gravity node, and maybe your caster. There's another mechanic. Electric node has one attack called Forked Lightning. It will drop a Forked Lightning debuff on a player. It will shortly explode. Whoever gets the Forked Lightning debuff should move away from the party because when they explode, they will paralyze everyone near them and do damage. Final note is once the weapons node and gravity nodes are dead, we can move on to the electric node. And to do damage to that one, you need to be within melee range of it. You cannot be outside of melee range or you won't be able to hit it at all. You can see we get the energy field down buff. That is what allows us to actually attack the electric node. So ranged DPS also need to get in close. Once we have destroyed the electric node, after also destroying the weapons and gravity nodes, we'll be able to move on to the final phase. And the final phase is exactly the same as the first phase, but with one added caveat. And that is tethers. There's going to be a really, really nasty tether mechanic. 4 players will be tethered, first for a few moments to the boss, then to each other. There are 2 types of tethers. The first tether is, we called it DNA strands. It is just a pair of beams connecting 2 players. The other tether is just a ribbon. You can see Jaren and Averin have that right now. It's like a white with blue outline ribbon connecting 2 players. How this works. If you are tethered to another player, you need to stay physically close to that player. If you are too far apart, you'll start taking vulnerability stacks. Similarly, if you are too close to the other pair of tethered players, so if the ribbon tether gets too close to the DNA tether, then you will also start taking vulnerability stacks, which can get really deadly. I think it can even just outright kill you if the 2 tether pairs get too close together. And finally, if one member of a pair in a tether pair dies, the other member will die a moment later. So it's basically the same as the first round, as the first phase, but now 2 pairs of players have to manage their movement so that they are always, 1, close to their tether pair, and 2, far from the other tether pair. The way we handle this is we have the, quote, DNA pair go to B and the, quote, ribbon pair go to C, and then they'll just always move left around the boss in order to deal with nerve gas as the mechanics progress. We also will say that the tether pairs do not need to worry about C to the sea and C of the river. The players who are not tethered, they will deal with that. They will make sure people are stacked, they will make sure people are spread. The tether pairs are just focused on surviving nerve gas, because it is really, really brutal. But yeah, there's a few moments before you are tethered to another player where you're tethered briefly to the boss. Nothing is happening while you're tethered to the boss, it's just telling you, this is which pair you're going to be in, so you can see here I have the ribbon, so I'm going to C. It just gives you a few moments to prepare both pairs, so that they are ready to be tethered together. So I saw that I had the ribbon to the boss, so I knew I was going to be the ribbon pair, so I went to C. While the Sherazade also saw that they had the ribbon, so they also moved to C with me. The other pair saw that they had the DNA, so they went to B. And that's basically how we solved this boss. It is a very, very rough mechanic. Like, none of these individual mechanics are hard. I mean, they are hard, but they're not, like, unreasonably hard. But adding in the tether means you have to coordinate half the party very precisely to make sure everyone is positioned and moving in the exact same way to make sure that you don't fuck up the tethers. It can get really rough. And that is why I'm so glad we switched to using voice chat, because if we weren't using voice chat, this would be so much harder. Oh my god, this would be borderline impossible. You've got to have some good communication, or you all need to know the strategies. Yeah, it's a rough fight. Unfortunately, as you can see, we're so close to the end, we ran out of time, and also we died. So close. So what we decided, the original plan was if we can't get it within one instance, if we can't get it by the time right now, we would just unsync it. But we were so close that the entire party was like, you know what? Fuck this. We're clearing it legit. We're clearing it synced. We could do this. We clearly could do this. So we're gonna regroup, go in synced again, and we're clearing it. And just for fun, I said that the opening of the raid is a race earlier, right? I said it's a race? Yeah, we're gonna do a race. We're actually going to do a race. We're gonna stack up at 1 and 2 to prepare. That's the starting line. I've gone over all the mechanics and everything happening, so enjoy the race and the fight. I think my party ended up losing the first round and winning the second. It was really, really close on the second round of the race. Like, that was really close. The only thing slowing us down was we had Valiant on us. But, like, other than that, I'm pretty sure we won. Oh yes, something I forgot to mention, just popping back in as I'm realizing this. In the last phase after the ads, Kaliya actually gets buffs from each of the ad nodes that we fought earlier. In particular, from the electric node, it gets a buff where we can only damage it if we're within melee range. So second half of the fight, range DPS has to stand in close to Kaliya. Not so close you're in the hitbox, but close. That is definitely worth pointing out. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Alright, and that clears turn 11. Very, very good. It took us a little bit to get warmed back up on the second instance, but that's fine. That feels so good to clear that SIG. I hope the last two turns go the same way with us clearing it synced and not needing to go to unsynced. I'm not expecting us to clear it synced because it's hard, but I hope. I hope. Alright, once that loot drops, we'll be able to hop on out of here. Just waiting on people to roll. Oh yes, this turn also drops headgear, arm gear, and foot gear, but foot gear seems really rare as a drop from this one. I tried grinding it out, and after getting all the head and body gear, or head and arm gear, I only got like 2 pieces of foot gear, which is unfortunate. Thankfully, it's in coffers, so you can get it for the rolls rather than the specific... Or rather, you can just grab the coffers, open them up on whichever roll you want to give it to, and then move on. So you don't gotta go for specific rolls gear dropping, it's just coffers. It's much easier. Why, this looks like a model of Dalamud, yes. For millennia, Bahamut must have gazed at this unchanging view. Trapped inside a prison that was scarcely large enough to contain him, unable to move, denied the release of death. How his hatred for man must have burned. And that hatred found an ideal vessel in Nail Van Darnus. In many ways, Bahamut is to be pitied, not loathed. But knowing the true extent of his fury, I am more convinced than ever of the necessity of our endeavor. Besides, his is not the only soul that cries out for vengeance. And that is the end of turn 11. I'll see everyone next time as we move into turn 12. We're almost there. We're getting into the hardest fights in A Realm Reborn. I'll see everyone next time for that.